Here are 3 ways that my students and I have been making money from luxury watch trading. Now, watch trading can take on many different forms. However, we're going to focus on 3 specific strategies that we've used in order to generate some passive income if somebody's running it for you. Now, if you're managing the entire operation yourself, which by the way, I personally do not do, I have somebody do it for me. And so that person, he handles my entire watch portfolio because it truly is not passive. It's kind of like flipping a house. That takes a process, right? You have to find the house, you have to source it, you have to buy it, you have to maybe refurbish it, and then eventually you sell it back on the market. So it's a bit of a process, and it's the same thing with luxury watches, but it's a great way to get started and start making some money from investments. There have been some months where I've made 20, 30, 40% a month on my portfolio on the watches, and I've been able to sustain that over a long period of time. So obviously the watch market can change at any point in time, but given the performance that it's had for the last few months and even years, there's been a ton of demand and not enough supply to meet everybody's needs. So this creates a unique situation for us as investors where we can find these watches, maybe potentially even find somebody to run the operation for us and create an entire watch trading part of our portfolio. So it's a cool way to start parking some money in assets, which are very valuable, by the way. A lot of times these things are literally like a chunk of gold. So you're buying a piece of gold, maybe it has some diamonds on it, right? There's a brand name attached to it. So all these things, they contain value. Now, nothing against digital assets, right? We have digital assets. I invest in digital assets, but at the end of the day, you can't see them necessarily. You can't physically hold them. You can't touch them. You can't feel them. Technically, you can see them on your computer, but at the end of the day, a lot of people want to have the security of a physical asset. And so that's one of the things that we focused on. So the first way is just a basic flip. Either you or the person operating this investment for you, you find a watch that's on the market and selling at wholesale. So there's these watches that oftentimes they're not sold at wholesale prices when you see them online or you see them at the store, because those are retail prices. And so there's a bit of a spread. So this is exactly how jewelers make money. Jewelers will buy these watches at wholesale. They'll mark them up 10, 20, 30, 40, sometimes more %, and then they're going to sell them on the retail side. Now, keep in mind, you're not the Rolex store. You don't have the reputable name of a Rolex store. So there is some value to walking into a jewelry establishment and buying from a Rolex dealer. Now, there's also something called the gray market. So the gray market is usually somewhere in between that wholesale and that retail price. So if you know where to look and where to source these watches, which we have experts on our team that do this for us, we can get these watches at or near wholesale. And the best part about it is if that person really needs to get rid of the watch, maybe they just need a quick sale, a fire sale is what we call it. Sometimes there's something that happened in that person's life where they need to let go of that watch as soon as possible. And so they're not too worried about the price that they're going to sell it for. And so this is called a fire sale, and you're able to get these watches even below wholesale pricing. That's a great opportunity for us as investors because we get to purchase that watch. We already have some equity in it because it's below wholesale pricing. And then maybe it needs a little bit of a polish. Maybe it needs to be cleaned up, better photos taken. You'd be surprised how many watches we literally do nothing to except for take better photos. We list them and we sell them at retail prices. It's absolutely ridiculous. So of course you have to know where to sell them as well. There's auction sites, there's different places that you can sell, but at the end of the day, it's a strategy that works. So it's just a simple buy and then sell. Right? We're not doing much to the watch. Now, the second strategy that we've been using for something like this is very similar to the first one, except this one involves a bit of refurbishment. So let's say maybe the links are scratched, or maybe the casing somewhere just has a big ding in it. And so that can give you a really great price on the watch as long as it doesn't actually impact performance or the functionality of that watch. You want to be able to buy something that's still working properly. There's no issues with it. It's not like a massive problem, but maybe it just has a little bit of a scratch on it, or maybe just a couple dents in it, or it just needs some love. So we can acquire these watches and we can actually refurbish them just a little bit just to make them look sellable again, or make them even look close to retail. It's not going to be mint condition, but we can get it close to that. And as long as it has all the proper paperwork and the boxes and all of that, that's really important because it allows you to buy that watch super cheap. You do a little bit of work, right? It might cost you even a little bit to do the work. Sometimes maybe it's $500 to do something to it, right? Polish it, clean it, whatever it is. Sometimes you might need to repair it just a tiny bit. Sometimes these watches don't work, right? And we can get them repaired as long as you know what you're doing. And then you can finally turn around and sell it for retail, or maybe even below retail. I mean, you can share the entire story of the watch. You can be like, hey, this watch, this is how I bought it. I fixed it up. Here are all the service receipts. This is exactly how we fixed it. This is how much it cost me. And now I'm selling it at close to retail because I put in the work to make this watch look better. And that's a real thing that happens all the time. People are selling these watches after refurbishing them, and a lot of people are happy to buy them, because why not get a great deal on a watch that's almost perfect instead of buying one that's brand new? A lot of people are open to that. My personal preference is buying stuff that's brand new, but that's because I'm holding for the long term. And that actually brings us to our third strategy, and that's the buy and hold strategy. So this one can pay off tremendously, and instead of maybe making $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 per watch, we're now talking about making hundreds of thousands of dollars per watch. Now, a lot of times these watches are more expensive, but if you know what to look for, if you know which watch models are maybe discontinued or just super popular or more desirable than their newer counterparts, you can start buying up those watches and simply holding them. You don't have to do anything. You could literally just buy it, put it in a nice case at home, let it stay charged, let it rotate in the case, make sure that it's still functional and working properly, have it in a display case so you can enjoy your watch collection. And then when it comes time, maybe in a year or 2 years, sometimes it's less, by the way, but sometimes it's 2, 3, 4 years, these watches can double, triple, quadruple in value. And so now we're talking about some real flips, and there isn't any work involved. You're literally just buying and holding, but you bought strategically. And so you're buying watches that you know are going to go up in value. So right now I have several watches that I bought that I believe are going to double or triple in value, and I just have them at home, right? And I know that not only am I acquiring this valuable piece of metal, right? It could be gold, rose gold, whatever it is. It probably has some diamonds in it, but it's also a valuable brand, right? It has the valuable movement. It contains value. That thing is always going to be valuable. And so that protects me from inflation, because if inflation hits, guess what? This watch is going to go up in value as well, because the dollars are worth less now. So if we understand that these watches protect us against inflation, we also know that, hey, my downside is pretty capped. I don't really think that I'm going to lose money on this watch. It's likely that, hey, if in a year it doesn't actually go up in value like I predicted, it's pretty capped towards the downside where I can't really lose much on these watches. As long as you're buying at a good price point, you're not buying it at the very, very high. That's kind of the key there. If you're buying it at the high, it's a little bit more risky because the watch could drop in value, maybe temporarily, maybe for a while. But if you're buying these watches and planning to hold them for several years and you bought strategically, there's a pretty good chance that that watch could go up in value, and then you're going to have yourself an appreciating asset while also protecting your wealth from inflation and having an opportunity to own this nice watch for whatever period of time you own it. Alrighty guys, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.